As a kid, when you played a video game, you expected moral clarity. You beat the villain, you save the princess, maybe you get access to some endgame content. Done and done. Except for when it didn't quite happen that way. See, sometimes games threw you for a loop by giving you the secret bad ending. And as a result, we're given access to some really bad exclusive in-game content. As a result of your actions, you may fail to achieve your goals, have one of the in-game heroes die, or in at least one case, watch the end of the world. In today's video, we're discussing in-game bad endings for early video games, including the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and computer games. And let's start with the most dramatic, the time your failure meant the end of the world, and you got a snarky message in response. The game in question is Balance of Power. This game was an extremely advanced and detailed nuclear war simulator, coming out for various computer platforms in 1985. In this game, you play as the US or Soviet Union. Your job is to maximize the prestige of your country and avoid a nuclear war. In-game events, such as economic actions, geopolitical crises, and military events, will challenge you to initiate certain responses and engage in military brinkmanship. The game was praised for its incredible innovation and decision-making. Indeed, it still holds the test of time, and it's actually pretty playable today. So in a game like this, failure means the end of the world via nuclear war. That's normal and expected. What was less expected was how they did it. One method of failure is nuclear brinksmanship. You push your opposing enemy too far, resulting in end of the world. Now, if you're a modern gamer, you would expect to get a picture of the world burning in an orgy of fire and flames. Nope. Instead, you get this text screen. As you can see, the game doesn't opt for sharp, but for snark. Quote, you have ignited an accidental nuclear war. And no, there's no animated display of a mushroom cloud with parts of bodies flying through the air. We do not reward failure. Oh. Contemporary players noted how sharp the departure was. Here you are, playing a deeply realistic game, and all of a sudden, snark. And a personal attack. The ending, though funny, directed the end of the world at you, the player. It was personal, and it made you want to try again. Now, if you want to talk about a depressing ending, and I mean really depressing, let's move on to Super Fire Pro Wrestling Special. This was the second game released in the Fire Pro Wrestling series and written by Goichi Suda, otherwise known as Suda51. As I'm sure you know, wrestling games are not exactly known for their deep emotional entanglement and engagement. This game changed that. You wrestle, starring as a new rookie, Smith Morio. In many ways, the game progresses like anything else you've ever played. Morio starts at the bottom and works his way up to World Champion. The plot, usually a side piece or barely even relevant in a game like this, is actually really dark. How dark? Well, you lose matches, not that big of a deal, but that's just a start. Your coach is murdered by a mystery assailant. You accidentally kill your best friend in the ring. Your girlfriend leaves you. The world champion wrestler, Dick Slender, who's clearly Ric Flair, murders your tag team partner in the middle of a match. Then he tells you that he killed your coach. The game ends with you as world champion, but the victory is hollow, as you have lost everyone and everything you loved for your championship. That creates what might be the darkest ending in this video. 3 days after winning the world championship, your character dies by suicide, and the scene is depicted in-game. The final visual of the game is an empty chair. For those of you familiar, the game, the first written by Suda51, launched the writer's career. The ending is obviously incredibly dark and disturbing, and according to Suda, Human Entertainment, who developed the game, collected boxes full of vulgar hate mail. By the way, this is not just the bad ending, this is the ending, the only ending. There's no optional happy ending here, making the ending of this game even more disturbing. However, for those of you wanting closure, or at least wanting more, good news. Suda would write a sequel, Fire Pro Wrestling World Fighting Road Championship Road Beyond. Wow, that's a long title. The sequel, which came out in 2020, followed the wrestling career of Morio's son. Let's hope the poor man gets some therapy. Let's switch gears wildly now and go back to the earliest video game on this list, and one of the first to basically tell you weren't playing the game right, Bobble. For those of you who remember, Bobble is a 1986 platformer. In this version, you play as happy dragons, brothers Bob and Bub, who must rescue your respective girlfriends. That girlfriend, who has been kidnapped by Baron von Blubba, nope, that's his name, seriously, has been taken to the Cave of Monsters. In order to rescue your girlfriends, you and a friend must fight your way through 100 levels. And that is where this gets interesting, particularly for an early Nintendo game. Most of the game is a standard platformer. You jump, fight, and use bubbles to clear enemies. Clear the enemies, and you move on to the next stage, which takes place over a single screen. Beat the boss at the end of level 100, and you beat the game, right? Well, not exactly. The plot of Bobble is that you're brothers. So what happens if you beat the boss in single player mode? Well, you get this ending. This is not the true ending. Come here with your friends. Yes, that's right, you actually have to beat the game with 2 players to get the true ending. It's a unique twist. and one that hadn't been seen before. It's also one of the first games in video game history where there are multiple endings, including a specific bad ending. Anyway, with 2 players to beat the game, you get the game's true ending. Bob and Bob are not dragons, but actually humans. You beat the final boss, rescue your girlfriends, Betty and Patty, and are transformed back into humans. It's a neat twist, and one that I'd actually say is still relevant today in that it makes you play with your friends. Switching back now, let's take a look at games that had multiple endings, like up to 13 different endings. I am talking about one of my all-time favorites, Chrono Trigger. This 1995 SNES RPG features you as the silent protagonist, fighting to save the world from an evil alien force as you race through time. The game was very successful, a critical hit, and has become a cult classic more than 30 years later, one that, according to reports, is being remade today. One of the more unique facets of Chrono Trigger, at least for the time, was the open-ended playstyle. At one point, the linear nature of the game ends, and you can begin to peel off and complete optional quests, gathering weapons, helping people, and adding others to your party. Doing so will alter the final outcome, as well as your potential success against Lavos, the game's antagonist. All this also alters the ending. The endings vary wildly. You could get a perfect ending in which all characters obtain happiness, Chrono's mother can get sucked through time, Chrono is dead and unrevived, you meet the game developers, no, seriously, and more. In total, there's 13 to 14 different endings, depending on how exactly you define ending. And there's also the terrible ending. In most games, when you face off against the final boss and fail, you get a game over screen. From there, you reload your save and try again. Chrono Trigger went different. Once you gain the option to face off against Lavos, you fight him. And, failing to adequately plan, you lose. Okay, time for... oh no. This scene may seem familiar because throughout the game you've seen recordings of it. Well, in the time-looping nature of Chrono Trigger, you now get to see the end of the world in real time, with the destruction caused by you. As you can see, the world is destroyed actively as a direct result of your consequences. You have now caused the dystopian future that you found yourself wandering in throughout various points of the game. From ending the world to killing your girl, Spiderman versus Kingpin. And this one was wild, and I mean wild, in terms of just how explicitly dark it got. The game came out in 1991 for a variety of Sega platforms, including everything from the Game Gear and the Master System to the Sega CD. In the game, the Kingpin has placed a nuclear bomb somewhere in New York City. As Spider-Man, you must defeat a series of well-known Spider-Man baddies to obtain the keys to disarm the nuclear bomb. Quick side note, really? Keys to disarm the bomb? Did that stuff always just fly? Whatever. Okay, anyway, more importantly, for the purposes of the ending, is that Venom kidnaps Spider-Man's perpetual love interest, Mary Jane Parker, adding a personal touch to the quest to save New York. Spider-Man must now rescue Mary Jane and stop her from being dropped into a pit of acid. It cannot be understated how important this game was to the success of the Genesis. The game was hugely popular for the platform. In fact, at one point in 1991, 2/3 of all Sega owners were estimated to have owned the game, helping to sell copies of the upstart system and prove its value. That success helped spur multiple ports of the game, including the Sega CD version, which made multiple improvements and added levels. One of the things that truly makes the game so striking? The bad endings. Technically, there are 2, and they are both kinda terrifying. In the first, you engage in the final battle against the Kingpin. Like in Chrono Trigger, this ending is triggered if you lose the battle. If you do, a game over is the least of your problems. You and Mary Jane both get dumped into acid, complete with this lovely goodbye motion from the Kingpin. That's not all. The battle is timed, leading to a second potential bad ending against Kingpin. In that version, you win, but after the timer has expired. As a result, Mary Jane is dumped into a vat of acid. Spider-Man vows revenge as the Kingpin is led away in handcuffs, but, seems bad. We now move on to the primary inspiration for Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. The 1996 Super Nintendo game was a simulation game, not completely unlike the various SimCity games that were available at the time. Harvest Moon was meant to be a direct contrast to the fighting games that were dominating the video game industry in the 90s. It was a quiet, leisurely, cozy game in which you were meant to repair your grandfather's farm that has fallen into disrepair. This involves caring for crops, attending festivals, and building relationships with other in-game characters. However, the game's leisurely nature and pace should not be confused with a total lack of objectives, because yes, there were 100 ways to screw up. The game was not entirely open-ended, and you had 3 years of in-game time to bring the farm back to glory. The game has 20 different possible endings, which range wildly. They are based on how well you do with certain crops, as well as how much happiness you are able to generate and what relationships you build. You can also get specific endings for getting married to certain characters and having kids, with the happy family ending generally being regarded as the closest thing to the best ending that you can get. Then there's the bad ending. This ending, which, if I'm being honest, is kind of hard to generate on your own given how easy it is to do certain tasks, occurs only if you are a bachelor, have under 99 happiness, and no livestock. In this ending, you are gesticulated at angrily by characters who are angry that you have wasted your life and spat upon your dead grandfather's legacy. Sad music plays, and a dog chases you while barking, appearing distraught as you race into the unknown. Okay, it's minimalistic, but still kind of depressing. Next, Mega Man Soccer. Wait, what? Yep, I meant that. Mega Man Soccer. It actually has a bad ending, and it's so strange that it requires explanation. For those of you who are unfamiliar, which I'm assuming is pretty much the vast majority of you, Mega Man Soccer is a strange spin-off of the classic series. The game, which takes place after Mega Man 4, involves several of the usual characters from Mega Man, including Dr. Light, Dr. Wily, numerous villains, and the Blue Bomber himself. The game plays relatively similarly to most sports games at the time. There are tournaments, exhibitions, league, player, two-player, all that jazz. Indeed, the only real nod to the fact that it's a Mega Man game comes down to the special attacks that players can use against each other. Why does a goofy spin-off have a bad ending? So, the game had a troubled development. It was rushed, multiple pieces of content were incomplete, the controls were poor, and a lot of players had real issues playing it. As a result, the bad ending of the game never became accessible in-game. If we're being honest, that's probably a good thing. At the end of the championship mode, Mega Man defeats Dr. Wily, who falls to the ground and begs for mercy. Then, Dr. Wily sets off some bombs or something and runs away. The castle in which the games are being played explodes and starts to collapse, leaving Mega Man trapped in the imploding building. And that's it. Seriously. We have Proto Man looking forlornly at the setting sun, a metaphor for the life of his dead hero, Mega Man? Wait, seriously? Is Mega Man dead as a result of a soccer game? It gets even stranger, because like I said, what you saw isn't a leaked ending, but one that was programmed into the game and rendered inaccessible. You can only see it by using cheat devices like the Pro Action Replay. Chalk this one up to the strange nature of the development of the game. And we conclude with a classic that undeniably stole nearly endless amounts of our time, Streets of Rage. You are probably familiar with this 1991 beat-em-up. The game moved its way through multiple different Sega platforms where it found significant success. You could play this game with one or two players fighting off the evil criminal syndicate led by the mysterious Mr. X that is taking over Wood Oak City. This one only got really fun if you're able to play with two players, as you had to work with your friend to divide and conquer, ration power-ups, decide who would get weapons, and more. The gameplay and bad guys were varied and kept you on your toes, making the game pretty difficult. That difficulty made the ending more rewarding. In the one-player version, you defeat Mr. X, ending his crime syndicate for good and freeing Wood Oak City. However, it's the two-player ending that makes the game truly interesting. Upon reaching Mr. X, the fight doesn't initially begin. He offers you a choice. Join his syndicate? There are three potential options here. First, if both players are good, moral, upstanding citizens and say no, they fight Mr. X and proceed to the usual ending. However, let's just say that you miscommunicate with your partner, or you hate each other, and one of you says yes while the other says no. Now things are on. Mr. X has you fight to the death with your partner. The survivor is given a chance to join Mr. X. Say no, and now you have to fight him and his henchmen. Beat them, and you now lead the crime syndicate. It's actually a wild ending, with more choice than most games at the time had. Bad endings of this time period were rare, but when they happened, they were fun. As always, my friends, I turn it over to you. What bad endings did I miss? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, or click on the next video that the almighty algorithm has for you. If you like what we have to offer and want to support us further, please do consider becoming a channel member. By doing so, you can support the channel, get access to exclusive content, chat options, and more. As always, thank you to our members, Christian Villagag, Justin Miles, Carl Narks, and Guyver214 for your membership. Yay, Christian, Justin, Carl, and Guyver. Have a wonderful day out there, my friends, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I liked making it. Take care, everybody.